Hey guys, what's up? Welcome back to the channel. It's Cynicalex. And today I want to discuss 6 things that I think were really great about this update 3.6. Kind of the lighter side to this boycott and Ultimates loot box chest controversy. I deal a lot of criticism towards Netmarble, and we are very critical of them and their missteps and their mistakes. But I do feel as though there should be some time and there should be a moment to take to appreciate what they did right in an update that has a lot of flaws, because despite those flaws there is some pretty cool stuff and there's some very nice quality of life changes that makes the game a lot smoother for the intermediate level players. And I think that's kind of what was targeted this time around, kind of the mid-level guys, trying to boost them up to catch up with some of the end game whales and stuff like that, whether it's through new characters or new content. So I wanted to do that, and also kind of wanted to extend that olive branch to Netmarble in case they feel like I'm the bad guy shouting at them from the tower in the sky with my dark robes on. We are friends on different sides of the issue, basically. So the first thing I wanted to praise Netmarble for and kind of talk about briefly is the story mode, the chapter 13. While I don't think that this is actually new content, and I think people that try to argue that this is substantial content need to take a reality check and look at themselves in the mirror. In total, this takes me about 10 minutes to complete as an endgame player, so yeah, congratulations for 10 minutes of content. But in those 10 minutes, it was pretty fun. Some of the bosses had some new mechanics. Fighting against Ant-Man was surprisingly difficult. Fighting against this new version of Thanos is actually quite difficult. It's hard to auto with characters like Wolverine, even Thanos himself, my Thanos, with all of his buffs and all of his skill development and tankiness, does have some issues. Takes quite a few minutes to kill this new Thanos. So I like to see them kind of mixing and matching some of the difficulty and some of the rotations from things like World Boss Ultimate to get some of these bosses and give them a little bit more creativity. I think there could have been more level design creativity. Netmarble has really stuck to the kind of 2 dungeon or 3 dungeon setup mentality since they started this game 2 years ago. So I would like to see stuff with backtracking, stuff where you have dungeons that have split paths and one of them is a dead end that you have to double back from. It would be a bit annoying at times if you're auto running, but it would give an opportunity to collect additional loot, and they could also expand the autoplay feature to choose whether or not to take those hidden or kind of alternate routes or side routes, or ignore them for faster clear speeds if you're just looking for biometrics or you're just looking for the primary resources from the mission. Speaking of primary resources, that is my second kind of hat tip to Netmarble. These missions all feature a double Uru drop, and while physical attack and physical defense are not the best ones, neither is energy attack and energy defense, some of these other ones are pretty good. Crit damage and crit rate are 2 very useful Uru. I think this is definitely the best stage now to farm for Uru, because it gives you twice as many. Of course, if you need specific bios, this one might be a lot better than Thor's stage 12-8 for energy attack, but it's nice that we're seeing diversity of the Uru and it's become a little bit less scarce. It's a bit more niche, but also ignore defense and dodge definitely has its use, so you can kind of double down on your farming and get twice as much done. I would like to see them include one stage that was physical attack and energy attack. I feel like they definitely could have done that for 13-8 because attack speed and skill cooldown are pretty garbage in most cases, because the returns on the Uru are just so low compared to other Uru types. But I do think that this is something that's nice of them to do for the player base, and it definitely helps those intermediate level players catch up to the end game boys and girls who already have their Uru farmed and are sitting on stockpiles of 500, 1,000 of each type, like I was a few weeks ago before I started upgrading random characters. Another thing that I do need to praise or say thank you to Netmarble for is including Captain Marvel. Having her farmable really takes a lot of the pressure off from the other ways of farming the character and not having to use bioselectors on her. It's only 20 per day, but for those of you who thought that she was farmable beforehand, you're really kidding yourselves. You don't get enough tokens to really farm more than 30 bios a month for this character. It's pretty brutal in terms of how fast you accumulate honor tokens, especially if you're a low VIP and you don't get the bonus tokens. And then, the number of bios you get, 30 bios for 5,000 coins. It's really a very low amount. I mean, I've been saving for months now, and I only have enough for 120 bios. So that extra 20 per day is huge. It basically means you don't have to spend your tokens on her anymore. So if you're skipping Gamora and you already have Warwolf, you're basically now just getting excess honor card chests for the extra comic rolls, or you're getting just extra random bios, which are a much better deal, 10 for 1650. That have chances of being, you know, double and triple, and then those will just go to native tier 2s to rank them up. I doubt it. So I think that was really nice of them to do, and it was a good thing for us. I wish that they had given a bit more diversity and not given us 3 more Black Panther, because we already had one, but you know, what can you do? It can't be perfect. In addition to that, I've already mentioned it in a previous video, but the downgrade, the reduction in price for ranking up and tier 2ing characters from chapter 1 to 8. This will make a really big deal, especially for newer and intermediate players. Newer players, I think it doesn't have as much of an impact because they don't have the resources. They don't have the Chaos Norn Stones. They don't have the Black Antimatter. But for intermediate players who have, you know, already got 10 to 20 tier 2s, but are starting to snowball and get excess resources, this is really going to help them, and it's going to allow them to get to stage 30 of Shadowland a lot faster. That's both positive and negative, because it means that a lot more players are going to be enjoying Shadowland to its fullest, and also Conquest to help their alliances, but it's also going to mean that players are going to progress into the end game a lot faster and realize that there's really not a lot of content in this game at the end game once you can clearly and consistently hit Shadowland stage 30, and then if your alliance doesn't play Alliance Conquest, for example, or they're not competitive, there isn't that much left to do day to day. The next thing I wanted to talk about is the skill animations for these new characters, primarily Nova, Blue Marvel, and Ant-Man. While I don't like these characters because of the way that they are obtained, I'm still, you know, 100% on board with that feeling and that sentiment in the community. I do have to say, going into the skill preview, checking out these characters' skill rotations, it's pretty flashy. I mean, even the intros where he's punching the air is very cool, flying around, super smooth. I'm not trying to advertise these characters, but you've got to just give it up to the people who are doing the art design and the people who are responsible for the visual graphics. This is a mobile game, and we're, you know, pretty lucky that we get such, you know, intense graphics. Like, he's doing his Kamehamehas, he's doing his, you know, twin beam Vegeta style. I don't even know what this is called, but yeah, he's even got the little shield around him. It's pretty cool. Yeah, and Ant-Man is actually even better than that. I did kind of slag Netmarble a little bit because I feel like they borrowed a lot of the animation for Storm and Jean Grey's skills, their 5th skills respectively, for this one, and you can even hear it in the audio. You can hear Storm's lightning that they just copied and pasted. I would have liked them to come up with something a little bit more original, but even the lightning that appears on his body because of the self buffs, these small little touches, and basically changes the overall color. He looks quite dark here and kind of muted, but then as soon as he starts to buff himself up with one of his attacks, I don't know if it's 2 or 3, I don't play this character as you can see, but once he buffs himself up, well, that's a hand buff. But then in the case of the 5th skill, this is a body buff. New meme, boys. So now Mickey Mouse is all glowing like a radioactive critter. Rodent. Boycott. Alright. So I wanted to just mention that briefly because I do think it's worth noting. And, you know, we can't just be negative about everything, despite the fact that we are, you know, refusing to spend money, refusing to spend crystals on this game until they fix what's wrong with it. The last thing I want to talk about, I don't want to talk about the limited event because I think this is kind of silly. I do want to just warn you, if you are using these limited event boost points and stuff like that, as soon as you hit collect, they will go into your live amount. They won't go into your inventory to be used later. Similar with the notice that gave you boost points. Not this one, but there was another notice that gave you boost points. It gave you 100 boost points. That immediately goes on top of your existing boost points. So make sure you're at 100 when you collect these. Otherwise, you're basically just wasting boost points that you can't get potential CTPs of patience for. But I do want to talk about this event quest as the final thing to discuss. I do think it's nice to give out free things to the players, and that's basically what this is. You can just freely get a whole bunch of energy, or if you're smart and you save it up, and you're careful, a tier 2 ticket or a mega rank up ticket and some other things. I do think this is all nice and well and good, and yeah, it kind of sucks that you can't get it if you can't beat the story missions for new players. Again, I think this is for intermediate players, but I do have to kind of question the timing. We don't get that many event quests. We've gotten a lot of pre-event quests for things like the X-Men and, again, Age of Apocalypse stuff. That was kind of hyping it up in anticipation of it, and that was just giving character bios out. You know, character bios for Beast, character bios for Cyclops, and that's all nice, but it pales in comparison to the rewards they're giving us here. These rewards are usually reserved for big events: Halloween, Easter, tier, you know, the anniversary, Christmas, things like that. 3.6? I guess, after Thanksgiving? What's the point of this event quest, I ask you? Is the Ultimates really that big of an update? I mean, Netmarble didn't hype it up all that much. There's not that much advertising surrounding it, from the looks of it. Not that many characters, very little content. I don't see the correlation between this event quest and the content that was put out. Aside from the fact that this event quest came out actually a couple of days after the update, which leads me to think or speculate that this is actually a way of appeasing the community and kind of saying sorry and trying to, again, buy our forgiveness for the loot box controversy. I'm not saying that's the reason why, please don't misunderstand me, but I am a bit suspicious of the timing. It's a very, you know, interesting coincidence that not immediately after the update, but a bit after that, a bit after people started to throw up their hands in disgust and, you know, refusal about these new loot boxes, that we get this event quest. Wow, look at that. Just play the game normally, no difficult hoops to jump through, and you're gonna get a tier 2 ticket that is 3,500 crystals for free, essentially, because that's how much they go for regularly. So let me know what your thoughts are on that last bit of kind of Illuminati skepticism and doubt. But otherwise, I do want to thank Netmarble for the effort that they put into this update, aside from the loot box drama and aside from the clearly overpowered Anti-Man, Blue Marvel, and Nova. I wish those characters were a little bit lower power level, or they were harder to get without being RNG based and gambling based. They still need to fix the box. That still needs to go away. That's not obviously going to change until it's gone. But I do want to recognize hard work and effective work when I see it. So let me know what you appreciate about this update, if you appreciate anything at all, what you're still waiting for them to fix, and anything else I might have missed, and how you feel about the event quest. Subscribe if you're enjoying the content, and of course, if you like what you see, I hope to see you again tomorrow. I'm in Korea now. Take care.